What's up, guys? This is Andrew Frezza with Melissa Dixon of Care Coach Lead, and today we're going to be sharing a workout with you guys, breaking down a workout that we actually did in our gym at FitTown, and talk about how we can make this workout better, how we can improve upon it, how we can deliver it in front of our class to get more buy-in for it, and to give you guys an insight into programming and specifically the aerobic system of how we can make workouts either more aerobic, more anaerobic, and just know what is the objective we're trying to create with any workout, and making sure that the things we're doing in the inner workings of the workout actually line up with that end objective that we're trying to create. Okay, so this is the workout that we're gonna break down today, workout we did in class a few weeks ago. It's every 10 minutes for 3 rounds. You're gonna do a 500-meter row, 20 weighted step-ups, 400-meter run, and then 20 toes to bar. There's 2 advanced options for the row and the run to go to 600 meters on each. So Melissa, when you see this workout, what's the first thing that you see about this workout that leads you to believe, we believe this is a more aerobic workout? So what are the first things that you see that makes you think this is a more aerobic workout?
Yeah, so if I'm coaching this in class, the first thing that jumps out to me is that none of this first part is gonna hold anybody up. They're all movements, the row, the step up, the run, no matter what they're using for weight, they're gonna choose something that's gonna allow them to move. So all of those things are very cyclical, they're very repeatable, they're sustainable efforts. They're not really going to have to break any of that up. So it's all gonna be one-off efforts that are gonna be a pretty easy amount of time to be able to judge what they're gonna finish in. The toes to bar is the only wild card that people will likely have to break up, that gymnastics skill there. So that's really the only variable thing from athlete to athlete that I see. So that'll be the kicker for their finishing times in this work to rest ratio. So I'm looking at something that's going to be, you know, giving us a very clear work to rest ratio in a workout like this.
Yeah, and what I would assess is like, okay, what is an average athlete gonna do on a row or run? How much time is that gonna take up? Same with the step-ups and the toes to bar, and figure out an exact amount or range that you think this workout is gonna take. So we actually did this workout, we have the data. We generally saw people in the 7 to 8 minute range. And if they were gonna be below 7, we wanted them to choose an advanced option that would put them more in this 7 to 8 minute range. So if we roughly said 7.5 minutes per round, that's 3 times the amount of work as rest, right? 7.5 minutes to 2.5 minutes of rest, so 3 to 1. So whenever we have that much work compared to rest, that's more of an aerobic workout. You have to be able to sustain that for a long period of time. 2.5 minutes is not enough time to fully refresh each time.
Yeah, these are bigger chunks of the run, bigger chunks of the row. It's gonna eat up a lot of that interval time, so it's not gonna let them push too hard and make it an interval workout. They're going to be, you know, having to have longer sustained efforts in those bigger chunks of things.
Exactly. So if we're coaching this in class, how can we present this in a way to get people bought into the stimulus to understand it? So one of the best ways, I kind of mentioned it, was we can tell our athletes, if you're going to be under 7 minutes in this workout, or maybe you do round 1, you're unsure, you're not a great runner, you just want to try the regular on round 1, and lo and behold, you get done in 6.5 minutes, then we want you to go and bump up that run the next round. So if you ever finish below 7 minutes, we would encourage you to add one or both of the advanced options to get into that higher range. Another thing that I really like to say in this workout is that don't treat this like an interval workout. Actually treat this like a 30-minute AMRAP. So you're not finishing your 20th toes to bar and going, oh my God, that was so hard, I need to sit down, I need a rest. You're finishing your 20th toes to bar thinking, if I needed to walk right over to the row and immediately start my row at the same pace that I did on round 1, I could do that. And then lo and behold, oh my God, this rest is here. This is a nice bonus, but it's not a must-have to need that rest.
Yeah, when we're talking at the whiteboard and we're telling people, you know, a 500 is an easy split time to know. Most athletes in our gym know what they're gonna finish 500 in and what they can hold at a sustainable pace. And we're trying to have them dial into that, but giving them those advanced options for those people who are gonna land well under 2 minutes on that split time every time with an aerobic effort. Because we wanna have a range for all of the athletes to make this their own.
Yeah. And then another thing that came up when we did this, this was like a midweek workout for us. I think it fell on a Wednesday. And one thing that I heard from athletes was, well, I'm just going to go for the regular distances, the 500 and the 400, because I'm feeling beat up from the last 2 days and I don't want to go too hard today. And one thing that I told them individually was, actually, I'd like you to flip your mindset, because I know these are athletes that were decent rowers and runners, and I knew they could handle it. I said, actually, what I'd like for you to do is go for the advanced, but treat it like a 30-minute AMRAP where you're just going to stay at a really low, slow pace the entire time. You're still going to get some rest. You'll still probably get 90 seconds of rest at least, but it's counterintuitive. People think, oh, okay, I'm feeling beat up, I should be doing less work. But if you think about what an active recovery day would look like, we'd be doing 30 minutes of constant motion, lots of variety in there, getting every joint moving, feeling good, sweating, and leaving there and being able to walk off, be at a conversational pace. And that's different from shortening things up. So what happened, actually, some of the athletes that I told this, a couple people took me up, a couple people didn't. The people who didn't ended up turning it into an anaerobic interval effort. They chose less, they ended up going fast, they earned more rest, and now they're digging into that CNS even more. They didn't get the recovery day that they thought they were going to get.
Yeah, they get too much rest in that workout. They're fresher to hit it harder.
Yeah.
And then it becomes even more anaerobic, and it kind of snowball effect in the opposite direction.
Exactly. So part of what I want to bring into this conversation today is the role of the aerobic system and the importance of the aerobic system. And if you're in a high intensity or functional fitness setting, there's going to be a lot of overlap, but not every day is going to be like, oh, we're working aerobic today, we're working anaerobic today, or you might think of it as energy systems. We're working the glycolytic energy system today, and then today is going to be the oxidative. It's not going to be that segmented, but we do want to understand that if our athletes are trying to make every single workout that they do super high intensity, super anaerobic, every workout is I go hard for an effort and then I rest for an effort. And people can turn AMRAPs into anaerobic workouts. They'll do a big set of unbroken cleans and then they'll rest for 45 seconds or a minute, and they don't realize it's that long, but it is that long. So what happens is they're underdeveloped in the aerobic system, and the aerobic system isn't just about having good cardio, but it's about recovery between workouts, recovery between sets, the ability to stay injury-free because you have good recovery. So we really want to have some workouts in a given week or month that are helping us to develop that aerobic system. So where that's built is actually through low, slow work. And usually if you want a heart rate metric, if you want to actually get some data to attach to it, it's going to be 180 minus your age. So for me, I'm 35 years old. 180 minus my age would put me at 145. So if I'm going to do aerobic work, I want to sit between 140 and 150. If I want to err on the one side, I actually want to err on the low side, not the high side. So maybe 130 to 145 is going to be my sweet spot to develop the aerobic system, and I want to do that for longer periods of time, ideally at least 30 minutes, but as long as it's more than 20 minutes, I'm getting into that aerobic range.
This is really important for people's nervous systems too. I don't think we say that enough. We address the nervous systems. We're addressing like muscular fatigue. We're addressing the breakdown of muscle tissues when we're talking about the anaerobic stuff, but we don't talk about the taxation that comes on your actual CNS when you turn even the barbell for a big set and then you rest, what that's doing to your nervous system, what that's doing to your sleep and your stress levels. So don't even think about that when it comes to true aerobic work, that calming things down, that helping you recover, that helping you be better for the next day when you do want to hit it hard, you want to have that fresh nervous system.
Exactly, the ability to have those high highs, you need to be able to recover and be strong for that. And then the other big hallmark for the aerobic system is you're typically going to have higher work to rest ratios. So it could potentially, depending on the workout, again, it could probably be as low as a 1-to-1 work to rest ratio, could still be aerobic with the right design. But generally, it's going to look like either 1-to-0, meaning you're working the entire time, you have no rest, like a 30-minute AMRAP has 0 rest built in. But a 2-to-1, a 3-to-1, a 4-to-1 work to rest ratio is going to put you in a much more aerobic state, whereas anaerobic, you typically have more rest than work. You might do a 20-second bike sprint, and then you need 5 to 10 times that amount of time to truly recover if you're really going to call it a true sprint. Okay, so we want to move on here to talking about some ways to make the first workout that we put on screen more aerobic or more anaerobic, so you can see how this plays out in practice. All right, so now we have the three versions of this workout on screen. The middle version is the one that we already talked about, the one that we thought was a pretty well programmed workout, but we do think it could be made better. So we want to talk about ways that we can make this more aerobic if that was truly the goal for that day. So moving over to this top left, this would be a little bit more aerobic. And some of the hallmarks that we have here is that we've changed the movement selection to be a little bit lower intensity. The weighted step-ups have gone down to just no weight, body weight step-ups, and we've increased the repetitions though, so people are working longer of that interval. Same thing with the sit-up, the toes to bar, they're now sit-ups, went from 20 reps to 30 reps. Maybe a more intermediate change. If you switch this from toes to bar to toes to rings, that would take a little bit of the skill down, but still keep some level of a high skill movement in there. But that would increase people's likelihood of not needing to break up the set, and they would be able to sustain for a longer period of time. And then notice with the run, instead of having this 400-meter run as an option, now we bump that up to 500 and still have those advanced options on the row and run. So now we're probably talking athletes are going to be working a minimum of 8 minutes, probably more 8 to 9 minutes, and barely need any rest between sets.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference is the fact that they're not going to need to break anything up for sure now. You know, you're never going to need to break 30 sit-ups, 30 body weight step-ups. We know our athletes are going to sail through this no matter what pace they need, even if this was an AMRAP.
Definitely, yeah, 100% agree. So now, what if we go back to center, but then to a more anaerobic version, and what would that look like? So one way that we can do that is the row, we've now switched that to calories. And what calories does is it's not, for some athletes, it won't be a massive change. It might even be the exact same time each round. But for your more powerful athletes, the athletes that have the ability to get really fast twitch, more anaerobic, they get rewarded exponentially for those small increases in speed. So a 10% increase of speed on meters, it results in a 10% decrease in your pace. A 10% increase in your row pace with calories might give you a 15 or 20% reward. It's just an exponential reward there. So this could be done a lot faster if people choose to go and sprint it. Now, look at the movement selection. Thrusters and toes to bar are going to be a lot more intense movements. And the thruster specifically, if you stay unbroken, it could be cycled a lot faster than a step up. So even though it's much harder movement, most of us would prefer to do a step up instead of a thruster. We could get it done if we're willing to hang on and grit through it a little bit more.
We took the run advanced meters down to keep this shorter because we feel like athletes can still push that sprint effort on a 400, get it into that 90-second range, you know, go anaerobic with that sprint speed on those and still keep the advance for the people who are finishing too quickly, but then keeping that toes to bar in there for the sport athletes, for the people who want to practice that. But the biggest thing that we did in this one that we talked about was, especially for a personal training client or someone who has a sport-specific goal or really wants to dive into that interval, is working on those time domains. Because time domains are the easiest thing to toggle that work to rest ratio to where we build in more rest. So by making this 12 minutes for 3 rounds, we made the whole entire time domain longer, which would seem more aerobic, but in this case that means there's more rest because they'll be working pretty much 5 to 6 minutes on this effort, giving them 6 minutes, maybe even more, of rest time in that interval. So equaling out the work to rest ratio, but at the expense of a class experience if you're using this for a class.
Right, you have to really think about that. That's something we're thinking about as a group class-based facility is, yes, there's objectives we have in programming, but that can never supersede the overall objective of people having a great time, it's staying as a high energy class experience and not having too much downtime. And I'm not saying definitively that this would be too much downtime or not, it's just something you want to be thinking about as you program this and put it in your classes. And if you want to break down the math just to kind of see, I would say roughly 90 seconds on the row is a pretty good, decent row. You could do that unbroken in under a minute. Let's just call it a minute. 90 seconds again to a minute 45 on the run. And then that could be done under a minute if you really push the pace on the toes to bar. So if we call it 3 minutes here, an extra minute each here, that could be a 5-minute round. Sprint that, you probably could get it even faster than that. Now you're talking, we've definitely gone under that 1-to-1 work to rest ratio. So that definitely is now a workout where I see that if I'm a more powerful athlete, more strong, more fast twitch, I'm like, yeah, I can kind of outrun that workout, right? That's the hallmark of a good anaerobic workout. You can outrun it. You can beat that feeling of that workout getting really hard, because by the time it gets hard, you're almost done and you're ready to rest and get that reset for the next round.
Then you have a full 6 minutes to recover to do it again.
Exactly. So I hope this is helpful for you guys to really see this laid out. You know, obviously there's so many factors that go into programming, but if you have an objective, think about how you can play with time domains, movement selections, and all these different elements to be able to really fulfill that objective. So what you say you want from your athletes and what you're wanting them to achieve, the workout lines up with that, and you're not saying one thing, but the workout's telling a different story. So I hope this is helpful for you guys. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below, and we'll see you in the next video.